All right, folks, thank you so much for joining us today. Some of you are coming back from previous webinars that you've attended before. We're so excited to have you. David, we actually had a record number of people register for this webinar, so this definitely struck a nerve for some folks. So thank you guys for joining us. Let's give everybody a couple more minutes to join us, and then we'll get going. Let's see, who do we have so far in the room? We got Chad, John, Michael, Sonia. If you guys, let's do something fun. You should be able to find a chat function or Q&A function on the bottom. Let us know where you are from, where maybe give us what state you're from, what dealership you're from, and maybe how many years in the business. We do encourage participation. This is how humans learn. Alex just joined. Welcome, Alex. Do you want to find a Q&A button and just kind of tell us where you're from, how many years in the business, maybe your job role, tell us a little bit about yourself. We got some coming in right now. Michael, Rapid City, Granite, Buick, GMC, Nissan, almost 2 years. Awesome, welcome. I think we had the pleasure of spending some time with one of your managers, Paul, I believe. And so we certainly are happy to have you here. We got somebody from New Jersey. Awesome. John, welcome. Somebody here locally, Chad Murdoch. Welcome. All right, we'll have people come in. As a reminder, this event is being recorded. And so as you come in, for some reason, if you have to step away for a second, we totally get it. We hope you stay, but if you need to ask questions, feel free to chime in. We have Bart Wilson also here to help us kind of go through the questions as well. But for those of you who are not obviously able to attend, this will be recorded, emailed out to you with a free tool that I'm going to talk about in just 1 second. And so as you see on the screen, my name is Jason Volney. If for some reason you want a copy of this deck, that as David's going to go through it, you can certainly take screenshot. We're not going to stop you. But if for some reason you want to do some of this curriculum training with your team, just send me the message, connect with me, say, send me the deck, nothing fancy, and I'll get that over to you so you can have it for your record. Sue, welcome. So David, let's get started really quick. If you don't mind going to the next slide, we'll go through the agenda. First, we're going to learn a little bit about David Ibarra. Some of you, as I mentioned, have attended a previous webinar. Some of you, this is new. And so we'll have David talk about himself, why you should listen, and how important it is for your organization and your personal growth. And then we'll dive into why do your associates fail to convert and how to fix it. We'll dive into the drifter versus non-drifter culture, why most training fails right now. And we'll talk about communication styles, MBS profiles, and how to communicate, not only with your employees, but also your guests and also other leaders. And then how are they seated every day, leadership, associates, and guests as well? Where's information coming from, and how you can play a role in changing their mindset every single day, and how important that is. And then we'll dive into building how power culture. Now, keep in mind, this is something that we do a 2-day seminar, a leadership summit. So we do deep dives and we try to compress it into a half an hour conversation. So you can see how we're probably going to be slicing some things. But if you like what you hear, and feel free to reach out to us, we'll get you registered for our upcoming event. We do one every single month. And so also, if you are struggling to pay for something like that, reach out to us. We can work something out as well. We do offer some scholarships for those folks that need help. We want to just help you guys grow. And then at the end, I'll share the free tool with you. So without further ado, David, I'm going to turn the floor over to you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you've been, what you've done.
Well, welcome everybody. First of all, I want to say I congratulate you for showing up and wanting to learn. I think that the being curious about what others are doing, what we're seeing in our industry, is the first step to becoming excellent. I like to share what I've learned over 45 years of working in automobile dealerships and other industries on answering the number one question that people have: how is it that I find good people? And I always ask that question, is that you can't find good people, or that we can't develop good people. I think that one of the things that very, very high-end producing stores have figured out, we've got to be the ones individually that are creating and coaching, encouraging, and developing people to grow. I share what I've learned in the books that we have out. The two on the right side are being released just in 2 weeks. But let's talk about why is it that my team struggles to convert a guest who shows up in our virtual space, our physical dealership, and the guest has showed up, they want to become a customer. But how is it that so often we lose the opportunity to convert an individual into becoming a customer? And then a customer, how do we get them to convert into being a client where they bring us business and come back over and over again? The number one thing is, what is a drifter mentality versus a non-drifter culture? It all starts with how I want to share with you a pyramid where we have captured the way people are stuffed naturally. This is us, and it's everyone that you're working with on your team, and it's also the guests you serve. And they're going to break down into really four groups. This, what I'm going to share with you, was first shared with the world in a book called Think and Grow Rich by Dr. Napoleon Hill that was written in 1937. It was validated by Yale University and Stanford and over 2,000 higher learning institutions. So this isn't just our opinion at the Live Ready Institute. It is an unshakable fact that you can research on Google or AI anywhere you want, and you're going to see it's very similar. But 3% of the gainfully employed are pure non-drifters. What does that mean? That means that they're self-directed, they're problem hunters, they're visionaries. They get up every morning to win. They never waste time. They do not work for money. They work to dominate the areas they're in. They want all the market share. The next group, 10% of the gainfully employed, are partial non-drifters. So that means that they are also partial drifters, but they are self-managed. They take great pride in that if you assign them a task, a problem, they're going to solve it, and you will not have to follow up with them. They're integrators. Now, we believe that most of us, to really succeed, this is the individual that must be the leaders of our dealerships in order to create an extraordinary opportunity. Now, the next part is the one I know the most about and love the most because it's the 60%er group. This is the person that's interacting with your guest. This is the person that's trying to convert that opportunity, the guest who came virtually or physically, into a customer. This is who our leaders have to affect. And the 60%er is a natural drifter. They others must lead them and manage them. They just want to get through the day, the week, the month, and retire and then be happy. The one out of every four people, unbelievably, are so disappointed in their experience at work, personal life, whatever, that they're destructive drifters. They're unmanageable. They cause problems. Their goal is to ruin your dealership. And the best thing to do with this group, because it's hard to change them, virtually you can't, is to transfer them to the dealership next to yours so they can ruin their entity. So we have 13% that are really non-drifters, and we have the rest, 87% need you. They need leaders. They need leaders that coach, encourage, develop, and bring accountability and execution to the equation. Now, it's been our experience when we work with creating a modern day dealership that is process driven with what I like to call how power, that this pyramid that is natural begins to shift. We have to change the talent mix at the dealerships that we work at in order to create extraordinary results. But once you go on a path of process and having competencies that are written in the effort to have every guest interaction felt by the guest the way you want them to feel about an experience, this is what begins to happen. The middle 60% group divides themselves into a third, and a third. And the top 20% of that 60% group naturally gets excited and joins the 13% group, and we have a shift. We have some excitement. Now, that excitement will not last long if the bottom 27% destructive drifter is in the dealership employed. So that group, though naturally on its own, will leave. And then we have a different talent mix. And then it's about really understanding where every associate that you lead fits. Are they in this now what was 13% group changes to 45? If that's the case, you give them some light direction, encouragement, and get out of their way. But this group now, the middle tier, which is here, they can be led. That's where we have morning huddles and we inspire them to really get excited about the day, and they will stay excited for 8 hours. The only difference is you have to have that morning huddle every single day. Now, this bottom level, they must be managed, which means they must be told. And the fact of the matter, I get asked this all the time, how long, when I identify that I have an individual in that bottom tier, how long should I stay with them before I give up? And my answer has always been the same. As long as the person is getting a little bit better every month, every month, every month, and isn't pushing back against your process, I'd stay with them. They can grow into the next level. They can level up. So the second item, does training really work? And the fact of the matter is the half-life of traditional training is between 45 and 60 days, after which the participants will forget or abandon 86% of the content of what they learned. So, how do we change that? What makes training really work and stick is we have to have it supported by the right tools. That means written processes. That means great training. But the number one tool to make it stick is you, is your leadership style. It's your ability to understand the full competencies if you're in variable operations, internet, phone, guest visit, BDC, understanding those and being able to teach them without the use of a manual, you have it internalized so well. That's when it becomes part of your culture. So, capital plus talent and time, how we utilize time is success. That gives us the discipline to get things done, to do what we ourselves said we would and so often don't. I want to talk about the two things in this next segment is what is the true cost of people and what is the impact of leadership. When we look at the cost of people, it is if you add up their wages, unemployment taxes, the benefits, the training, and the cost of turnover divided into gross, that's going to tell you the cost. Now, I'm just going to really quickly give you an estimate. When I became a general manager and took a store that needed some help, I took the role. The very first thing I wanted to know what was the cost of turnover. And we had a great turnover issue, which our industry generally does. But we were able to determine that each of our guests get about 42, each of our client advisors serve about 42 guests in either internet, phone calls, in one of the arteries that brings a guest into our dealership opportunity, either virtual or physical. But the average cost of turnover the first 90 days of a new person is about 22 to 28,000. And Jason's going to talk to you more about that later. Number three, are you communicating the way each team member actually hears? You know, we have a temperament training, and I'm betting most of you have been through it. But being able to know what each one of the client advisors, service advisors that you are responsible to develop, what is their temperament? Are they direct? Are they extroverted? Are they paced? Are they structured? And a leader doesn't make the individuals that they're responsible to develop change to their temperament. A strong leader knows the temperament of others and flips their temperament to match the individual associate or the customer that they're serving. And that really creates powerful leadership. Those temperament trainings that we use is MBS, Management by Strengths. And this is how it looks. And it's a whole nother course I won't get into today, but absolutely essential for leaders. You have to know, where does the associate fit in the pyramid? So situationally, you know how to lead them. And then what voice do you talk to them in? Number four, are they in a positive or are they in a negative state of mind? I want to share with you, are they in a positive state of mind or a negative? And then ask yourself, are you leading in a positive or negative? And sometimes, if you're irritated, if you worked hard, and we all do, and you get fatigued, you don't know it. You flip to a negative state, but everybody else knows it. And if you're leading with that doubt or negativity, you're looking for every reason somebody's doing something wrong, and they're going to run from you, not to you, for advice. A positive state of mind, again, coaches, encourages, and develops accountability and execution in everyone they serve. Let's take a look at how we're set up and what the guest feels like when they walk in. What do you think is the most trusted occupation in America? Nurses. 75%. By the way, this Gallup Trust polling or survey has been done for over 30 years, and it's always been nurses. The second lowest is a telemarketer. So when you're in the BDC, you know that people that you're talking to may be in a negative state. We have to have our message right and not feel so scripted that they can tell they're on with a telemarketer. You've sold them vehicles. There's a reason for you to call them. But look at the next one. 7%. The United States Congress only has a 7% trust level, which matches us. So we have the same level of mistrust. Now, I look at this as a positive in any dealership that our team is working in, because if the general public is walking in with a non trust, what state of mind are they in? And are we going to pivot to a negative state of mind just because they come in uncomfortable, not really wanting to go through the process? If they see something different, they feel something different, they pivot to a positive state of mind. But we need to share this with our client advisors, sales consultants, because we shouldn't be shocked when somebody walks in and they're not fully happy to do car shopping. But we've worked in dealerships, the majority of, that over a period of year for the individual location, we can get that up to 85, 87, 92%. And when you do, you've converted. You've moved your traffic in from a guest to a customer, and you've taken market share from your neighbors. So we've talked about state of mind. Go ahead.
Yeah, David, before we continue, I just want to remind all of the participant and attendees that raise your hand if you have a question for David. If he says something in the middle of it, I'll open up your mic. We'll let you speak. And we welcome this interaction. Again, a reminder that this is how we learn, by you participating. If you just listen to David for the next 30, 45, I promise you learn something, but you'll learn a lot more if you engage and raise your hand. So let's have some brave souls out there.
Absolutely welcome it. Now we've talked about controlling your state of mind. What in the world is that? And we look at the way the brain processes. And again, this was also brought into and shared with the world by a book called Think and Grow Rich, written by Dr. Napoleon Hill. By the way, I should mention that everything that we do is heavily supported by Think and Grow Rich. We live by that. I happen to be a disciple of Dr. Hill's work, and we at the Live Ready Institute, I'm the largest licensee of Dr. Hill's work in the world, and every one of our associates and coaches are Think and Grow Rich certified master coaches. So it's natural to us. But this was shared and been supported by many higher learning institutions. But how the brain processes is that 80% of our processing is the subconscious. We have opinions. We've been seeded with beliefs. Some of them that success is meant for us, but in most cases, success was not meant for us. That is happened from our environment from birth to 16 to entering the workforce, but we can change it by reseeding it. How it gets seeded is through the subconscious conversations that, like we're having right now. But when you're in a positive state of mind, a great thing happens. I think the magic of this happens is that your imagination goes out and sees things that support how good it's going to be when you achieve what you want. By the way, and on the other flip side, if you're in a negative state, it goes up and causes you to look for every reason you will fail and imagine every emotion that is connected to failing.
And
So,
David, this is probably a reminder that it's not just you as a leader have a positive or negative state of mind. Your associates may have a positive frame of mind, but also your guests are coming in, as you pointed out.
absolutely. You
Everybody's in
know,
that balance area.
everything that we do in our training, we call it selling sense. Because if somebody is in a negative state, they're not going to say yes. If they're in an apprehensive state, they're not going to say yes. We have to pivot them to cooperative, which is a positive state of mind. That is where yeses happen. So in everything you train, from your steps to a sale to your how you respond to internet leads, your texting back and forth should be created for our associates to be able to communicate and make them pivot from negative to cooperative so we can go to the next step. And that's how we convert people into a contact that is considering buying and move a guest to a customer. So build how power cultures. Let's talk about that for just a moment. A drifter culture creates the trust gap. And what does that mean? The trust gap, the non-drifter culture creates the opposite. It creates trust. And that is where the culture of coaching, the culture of encouraging, the culture of development, the culture of doing what we said we would do, of executing our why into a how And that is what people feel, and that creates the pivot. It is a culture of also creating accountability. When we have that not that drifter culture, that is where we have the high turnover, the low productivity, the high absentee rates, the poor reputation, the poor voice of the customer, poor associate satisfaction. Why am I doing this job? Why didn't I stay in college? What should I be doing? And if they're thinking that, you're not going to get that conversion to a guest, to a customer. And they have poor income and we have poor income. So it affects us all. If we look at the positive culture, the how culture, it's the opposite. It creates the right talent. Everybody wants to go there because they know that there's consistencies in the sales rate of the associates that work there. The associates talk positive about their workplace, which isn't normal in today's society. It encourages development. Accountability becomes self accountability. They are always standard driven. We have a talent P&L that goes with our financial P&L. If it is capital plus talent that equals success, we should have the matrix of identifying what is success. When we are able to do that, it's interesting. Associates begin to level up. And our chat about performance isn't a negative, it's a positive. But the purpose of how a culture, it increases the performance and productivity and the income of everyone involved. It creates a culture of ownership. What does that mean? It means everybody at the dealership, of a how culture dealership, protects the culture. If something's going on that doesn't match what we believe, we'll see associates just remind another associate, hey, that's not what we believe. And that happens. It develops a career path for what do you want next? Do you want to just get to the point that you can earn 150,000 as a client advisor so you can be present in the other roles of your life, family, faith, community, and health? Or do you want to progress to a leadership role? You want to help the associate find out what their calling is and then not try to change that, support it and help them get there. Embraces change. Change is going to happen. We want to understand it, and every one of your dealership should understand what it's going to mean. Like when we had the high interest rates and we saw it coming, the how cultured store was already practicing the terms discovery and what it was going to look like with a 6.5% interest as opposed to a 4.5% interest. When the client advisor saw leadership doing that, and before it happened, when it did happen, we didn't have a halt in sales. They had the confidence in leadership. I'm sure glad I'm at this dealership. Creating that why buy from me theme again is the how. You look at Disney, you look at Chick-fil-A. The pandemic occurred. Chick-fil-A was doing $4 million at per location on average. McDonald's was doing just a little bit over 2. During that pandemic, Chick-fil-A looked at change and the opportunity to understand it. They developed a process in the service drive that was going to outcare everybody experiencing a lockdown, and then you get the freedom at least to go to a drive up. They perfected the drive up to where they now have 3 lanes, and the majority of their sales comes through the drive up, and people are happy. They, at the end of the pandemic, went to 8.4 million in sales. Think of that. From 4 to 8. McDonald's ended up at about 1.8, and they're closed on Sundays. We look at Fontainebleau in Las Vegas. Las Vegas is a town that isn't a resort city, it's a gambling city. But you go to a Fountain Blue and you experience something different. These are examples of individuals that feel how you do business, and they just simply want to do business with you, and your market share grows. One of the things that we really encourage you to do is to look at the guest journey, every touch point. Where do they start in the process? How do you capture the conversation and convert them into a contact that is a guest that turns into a customer? Every touch point we have, find the touch point, create your themed process, and teach it to every single advisor working with your team, the person that's talking to the guest. That's how power, because how power is felt, experienced, and it's wow. I'm not supposed to feel this way, and I feel good. They take their business to individuals that have that themed approach. The non drifter, how culture closes that trust gap. And that's where people really want to work. So, in recap, I'll turn it back to Jason.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, David. Again, every time I listen to you, I always pick up some new information. But as a reminder, everybody, if I have any brave souls, if you have any questions, this would be a really good time for you to raise your hand. I'll open the mic, or you can just type it in and I'll ask the question. But we squoze in a lot of information, and a lot of you are wondering, like, okay, we said a lot of great things, but how do we actually do it? These are the kind of things that we teach in our leadership summit every single month. We dive in and we actually help you build the culture and the how power culture. We help you become a better leader. We have a finance bootcamp that will help you catapult your F&I managers to above $3,000 per vehicle or more. But at the end of the day, it's about your growth, your development, and we believe that your role as a leader is to engage your associates and help them develop themselves, help them grow. And yeah, go ahead, David.
And I think that I think what we want to share with you is that we have a new book, and whether you get the book or not, I just want to share why we wrote it, and creating the modern day dealership, 28 essential lessons. Each lesson is a 10-minute read, one a day, one a day for 28 days. And we share what we've learned. Anything that we're teaching you, sharing with you, isn't something we just thought of and wrote down. It's something that we've executed in the dealerships that we work. In our new book, we have 3 dealers that wrote the foreword to the book. We have a group in Idaho that is a mid-sized market, the Smith Automotive Group, that went from one store that frankly was underproducing to a 4-store entity today that is one of the most profitable in the country and has a great market share. The Murdoch Automotive team, I think somebody is here from Murdoch. Blake Murdoch wrote one of the forwards to our book, and he talked about, what have we done over the 20 years that our company, me and our team, have worked with them to achieve. They've gone from a singular store to 10 stores and have really become a powerhouse in Hyundai. To Jeff Davis, who wrote the foreword, the third foreword, and it's the Feel Good Automotive Group in Salt Lake City, Houston, and Kansas City. We started off with selling just 50 Volkswagens a month. And last year we sold 6,900 Volkswagens. We are now the #1 retailer of Volkswagens in the entire United States. Gunther is right below us and Lithia below them. We're partners in what we do with the client friends that we serve. So anything that we're talking about, we've implemented in stores. And I'm glad to have a conversation of How is it you do what sometimes just feels like it's impossible? How am I going to get this achieved? And the great thing about excellence, extraordinary compared to ordinary, it takes the exact same time to get both. So choose extraordinary.
Yeah, no, that's a great message. You may not know this about me, David. Well, actually, you do because you've seen me at the event. When I was at NADA several years in a row, I was a booth babe for another company. And the number one question that everybody asked me, how do I get more leads? Right. And the thing that we had to show them is just basically tell them, look, it's not about how many leads you get because the Feel Good Auto Group didn't become number one in the United States by spending more money on marketing. They spend by implementing these processes and really encouraging leadership training and growing and just converting at a better pace. If a
Oh, let
customer,
me
yeah, go ahead.
let me make some because one of the things that I don't want to do is I want you to have the full picture. The Feel Good Automotive Group spends more money marketing than any group that we've ever had. It's a matter of fact, an astounding dollar amount per store, 180,000 plus. But this group has the most productive BDC effort of any group that we've worked with. And that has been for the 17 years we've worked with them. So when there's a down market, the 1.5 hours to 2 hours that each client advisor spends marketing in a positive state of mind creates a 2.2 appointments per client advisor's schedule per day. So it's earned and it's not easy. We'll tell you, it is not easy, but it sure is fun. It sure is fun.
The other thing you mentioned, you wanted me to talk a little bit about the cost of turnover, right? A lot of times leaders in the automotive space don't calculate turnover at the right cost. It's almost believed that we are supposed to be the revolving door, and that's what has been titled before. But if we spend enough time calculating how much actual money it's costing our organization, that we may want to invest in some of these leadership training, some of these how power processes in order to help our associates become better and even engage with our organization and stick with us. Because let's do math really quick. How did you even come up to 22,500? And it's usually opportunity cost. An average dealership front and back end gross is about $3,500 to $4,000, but we actually take a smaller amount because we don't want to scare anybody. We took 2,500. An average new person who's joining your organization is at about 4 to 5 vehicles in the first couple of months on average, but a senior sales consultant is about 5 or 10 to 12 or so. You don't have to use our math, use your own math. So there's a delta there, a difference of about 5 to 6 vehicles. And so you take 2,200 or 2,500 times five, and you have your about 12,500. But then you times it by 3 months that person is going to be on your floor until they become somewhat average. And you can see how that number climbs up really quickly. So it's not necessarily the money that you're spending on hiring somebody and training them.
Probably,
It's the opportunity cost. And I think you want to touch on probably that there's even a bigger cost, a bigger problem.
yeah. I think that the fact of the matter is that when we work in a store that controls turnover, like a lot of this, I grew up in the Marriott system, Marriott hotels or restaurants, and we always did a lot of accounting of the guests. We had to understand when guests arrive, how many cooks, chefs do you need? How many people do you need at the a reception, a desk, check-in, and all of that. So we had to have that. It was essential. When I decided to leave, I was the director of training for the Western United States for the restaurant division, Farrell's Ice Cream Parlor Restaurants. We had 140 stores across the nation. I was intrigued about what would happen if we took hospitality processes and used them at what some considered well, not some, we had the lowest trust level of anyone in the nation. Would we be able to gain market share? And the answer is yes. But When I left 10 years of a general manager of a Metropolitan Ford store, our average thing I was most proud of, our average client advisor was 6.4 years time in position. That's when you have everybody was in within three of each other, of the 80% group of 15 to 16 cells. You had prosperity and you have harmony. When you bring in someone new, they're going to have the 5 or 6 number, which means that 9 cells did not occur. And we lost that money, 28,000, 22,000 for sure. But also, I think a bigger loss is 9 people that were trying to become a customer did not. 9 guests did not. Now, you'll hear me say guests, and where did that come from? We had a penalty in the dealership that I took responsibility to be the talent partner at, general manager. And you can't use that word up. We wanted everybody to say guest because we all know how to treat a guest. Our moms taught us that. And a guest is trying to become a customer. 9 people did not get the ability to say yes. Those 9 people, if they were served by the group that had the higher level of time in position, they would have sold 15. They would have been a customer and not a prospect. So there's a lot of good reasons to be the dean of your dealership, the dean of your college. For me, my job as a general manager, I wanted to do every training class for everyone new. I was the dean and then trained our sales managers, service managers, that to be a leader, you also had to be a dean. And so then I built out our faculty, but I wouldn't let anybody teach a class until it was taught exactly the way it was supposed to, because our associates have the right to be developed and coached and encouraged. It is hard, but it's sure a fun journey. And again, anyone who has a question, I'd certainly be open for discussion on any
Perfect.
topic.
Yeah, as we have some brave souls here raise their hand and ask a question, let's just recap what we've done so far. We you guys just learned about drifter versus non-drifter culture, and you saw the pyramid, and hopefully that'll give you an idea how you should view yourself as a leader. Where do you fall, but also how do you look at your associates as well? And I think we spent about an hour, almost 2 hours at our leadership summit just on that alone, so you can internalize it and really grasp how you should be looking at everybody that is sitting in front of you. You learn about why most training fails in an organization and what role you play as a leader in your associates' development and growth. And then we also touched on the MBS temperament, a little bit how to communicate. There's a science to this, that not everybody's created the same, and we all internalize information differently. Again, we spend more time on that one-on-one, so you can get really confident in that. And then how are they seated every single day? And so again, we can only fit so much into a half an hour webinar. And then, how can you fill the trust gap in your organization? So to hear more of this kind of content, please reach out to me. My information right there. Scan the QR code. Let's connect. I'll walk you through. We have actually a really systematic approach to getting you trained and developed to make sure you don't fail as you get on this journey. But it all starts with a webinar, which is your first step that you just did. But the next one would be Leadership Summit. Come visit us in Salt Lake City. We do one every single month. It'll fit your schedule. Come check out our ginormous mountains we have here, and come meet Dave in person and really start your journey and hopefully turn your organization around. And so we do have a question here. What is the name of the book that David mentioned? David, do you mind talking a little bit about it? Where can people find it?
Right. We have 3 books that are really essential. Stop Drifting, Become the Switchmaster is written by me in a Tom Blanchard style, and it's about us. It's about car dealers. It's about people that I've served that I put in a fictional story. Fun read. Live Ready Beyond Think and Grow Rich is where we modernized Think and Grow Rich. I was commissioned by the Napoleon Hill Foundation to write that, and it's our core of what everything we teach is based on five core principles. But the book that is coming out 10 minutes once a day for 28 days will be on Amazon by Tuesday of this week. Next
Awesome.
week.
And we'll probably send out an email to everybody
Yeah.
to remind it with a link so you can order it straight from there.
And
But go ahead, David.
and that one is becoming a modern day dealership through 28 essential lessons, lessons that come from my column that I've written for 3 years in Agent Entrepreneur magazine.
Great. So again, thank you very much, everybody who joined us. As a reminder, this is recorded. We will be emailing that to you along with your free tool. We created a dealership readiness scorecard. It'll allow you to answer some questions, and it'll let you know exactly where you stand as far as your organization or you as a leader and what some of the next steps that you should be focusing on. So thank you very much again, and we'll see you in 2 more weeks for another webinar. Thank you so much, you guys.
Thank you.